What's going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back to the Fantasy Headliners. I've got the top 20 tight ends for you here for week 12 of the fantasy football season. Before we jump into that, though, just a reminder, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, if you're watching this on Saturday, jump into the live show right here on YouTube. We're going to be taking all of your start and sit questions. We're going to be having a good time, letting it flow, laughing, and of course, giving out a little bit of life advice and Headliners After Dark. So make sure you tune in tonight, catch up with us a little bit, hang out, and have a good time. Without further ado, though, let's talk about our top 20 tight ends for this week. And number one overall for me is Zach Ertz. Now, let me break this down a little bit for you. If you did not watch my start and sit video for tight ends, then let me kind of play back what I said there. I have a large discrepancy this week between Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. Okay, Zach Ertz is number one overall for the main reason that Seattle gives up the ninth most fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends. Zach Ertz has been an elite option in the past, hasn't been great this year. However, with the way the tight end arena looks this week, we're going with our best bets, and Zach Ertz is our best bets. But why such a big difference between him and Goddard? Well, here's the reason. Number one, I just said it. Seattle's giving up the ninth most fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends. Not only that, they're dealing with some injuries at the wide receiver position. There's some people banged up. With that being said, Zach Ertz is going to be looked at this week as a main target. But even though Seattle's been giving up a ton of points to opposing tight ends, they've been doing a good job of limiting the touchdowns. Only 3 touchdowns to opposing tight ends this season. So, in the open field, tight ends against Seattle, they're seeing a good amount of volume. Seattle's playing a little bit more loose on the tight end position until they get into the red zone. Then when they get into the red zone, at that point, they're locking down the position a little bit more and they're keeping them from scoring, which is good news for Zach Ertz because he's going to be able to put up some decent volume this week, but it's not great for Dallas Goedert because Dallas Goedert's my red zone guy. Goddard's the guy that I want scoring touchdowns. He's the one that's getting those looks. It also probably means Seattle's not giving up a ton of huge plays to tight end because they're not probably scoring from outside the red zone. So, with that being said, that is why I have Ertz so high, because Ertz is my volume guy. Goddard is my touchdown guy. Ertz is going to get the volume this week. Seattle gets up a decent amount of volume to tight ends. They limit the touchdowns, and that's why Goddard's down at number 14. Number 2, Mark Andrews. The number one question that drives me nuts every single week. I love you, Headliner Nation, but when people continuously ask if you should start Mark Andrews, it's yes. It is yes, ladies and gentlemen. The dude at one point was averaging over 7 targets per game this season. He is getting the volume. He's got touchdown upside every single week. He's got volume upside every single week. He's Lamar Jackson's number one option every single week. We're running out Mark Andrews. Even in the games that he doesn't perform all that well, he's still getting a ton of targets. So every single week, he is going to have big potential. You got to put him in there. If you have Zach Ertz this week, and Mark Andrews, you're playing Zach Ertz and hopefully flexing Mark Andrews unless you have a better option. But the only person I'm playing over Zach Ertz or over Mark Andrews is Zach Ertz. So we're playing Mark Andrews this week, people. Just know that. Put him in your lineup. Okay, number 3, Benjamin Watson. Right now, as of this recording, the expert consensus ranking on Benjamin Watson is tight end 25 for week 12. I've got Benjamin Watson as my tight end 3. Either I'm a mad genius, the tight end whisperer, or I'm out of my mind and this is going to blow up in my face. Either one of those things can be inherently true, okay? Here's the thing, though. The pool at tight end this week is awful. We do not have a ton of great options at tight end this week. We're dealing with injuries, buys, a lot of different things, okay? For Benjamin Watson, he's coming off his best game of the season. This is what I'm going to whisper to you why Benjamin Watson is so high this week. Okay, the tight end whisperer. I've got some info for you here. Okay, this is why I'm rolling with Benjamin Watson. He is coming off his best game of the season last week. Okay, he looked good. Okay, he's starting to get into the offense a little bit after being suspended to start the season. But right now, the wide receivers for New England are dealing with some injuries. Edelman's been banged up. Dorsett has been banged up. Sanu has been banged up. All 3 of those guys. Edelman's definitely going to play. Okay. Sanu sounds like he's going to play. Dorsett, I believe, is still in the concussion protocol, unless some news is broke while I've been in the studio and I haven't had a chance to see it yet. Okay. Even if all 3 of these guys play, they might not see as many targets. The volume might not be there for them. It could be there for Benjamin Watson this week, though, because Dallas has been pretty good at limiting wide receivers this season, but they're giving up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Tight ends have been burning them all season long. This is Benjamin Watson season, ladies and gentlemen. Week 12 is going to be the week that we play Benjamin Watson because he's got a ton of upside. Not only that, but we found out this morning Tom Brady dealing with a little bit of an elbow injury. So some of those deep balls, some of those deep passes, he might have to check down a little bit more often against Dallas. Not only that, but Dallas has a really good pass rush. So they're going to have to get the ball out quickly. That's Benjamin Watson territory there. That's Julian Edelman territory there. They're not really going to be relying on N'Keal Harry to be running deep routes, okay? They're going to be relying on these guys to get the ball out quickly, move the ball down the field. Benjamin Watson is my tight end 3 this week. If you have Ertz, Andrews, or Waller I consider to be a little bit safer than Watson. Those are the only 3 tight ends that I am playing over Benjamin Watson this week. Benjamin Watson is my tight end 3. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can get him, you put him in your lineup over any other person you see on this list. Okay. Ran over. That's my Benjamin Watson rant. Darren Waller at number 4. We need to see him score some more touchdowns. Would love to see some more volume. Got to play him, though. Got to play him. He's one of the number 1 targets in that offense. Got to roll with him. Jared Cook at number 5. Looking good finally. 3 touchdowns in his last 4 games. Going to roll with him this week. Greg Olsen. Don't love the upside for Greg Olsen this week. Cook and Olsen, you see there back-to-back in the same matchup. Touchdowns in 3 or 4 games for Cook. For Olsen, however, again, New Orleans has been limiting tight end. So Olsen, a decent play this week. However, I think he's a little bit safer than maybe the guy behind him, Jacob Hollister. Jacob Hollister, I think, has a ton of upside because the wide receivers are going to be getting a ton of looks, especially now that we see that Josh Gordon probably isn't going to be on any kind of a limit, is going to be out there running more often. That's going to open up things for Jacob Hollister. And even though they have a tough matchup this week, Philadelphia does a pretty decent job of limiting tight ends, but they have allowed the 6th most red zone targets to tight ends. So Jacob Hollister is a big touchdown dependent play this week, but he's got a lot of upside. Olsen a little bit safer. Hollister I could see is going as high as number 5 though, in front of Olsen and Cook. I could see him a little bit higher. McDonald at number 8, another touchdown play for me. Yes, he hasn't been doing really anything this year. 100% get it. We don't trust him anymore. However, he does have 7 targets each of the last 3 games. So volume is looking good for him. Dawson Knox at number 9. I really like Dawson Knox, and I kind of got off the Dawson Knox train. Now I'm back on it. 87 yards combined over his last couple of games. Denver does allow over 13 fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends. Tough on the wide receivers. A little bit more lenient with the tight ends. Dawson Knox, a good week. Ross Dwelley. Now listen here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if George Kittle is playing, okay? I've seen people say, yeah, he's going to play. I've seen people say, no, he's not going to play. For right now, with this ranking, I'm going to put Ross Dwelley right here, assuming that maybe they play it safe and leave Kittle out for another week. However, if Kittle ends up playing, then Dwelley's taken out at 10, and Kittle is going up to number 4. He's going to go right in front of Darren Waller. So keep that in mind. If you are a George Kittle owner, he's my number 4 tight end if he plays. But right now, I'm just going to assume he's not, because I don't know for sure. As of this recording, they have not told us anything different. At number 11, Ryan Griffin. Dude had a massive game last week. However, you got to be careful with him. He's coming off a good game. He has another game which he has 2 touchdowns. Outside of those 2 performances, though, he hasn't done really anything this year. So you got to be careful with that. Cameron Brate at number 12. O.J. Howard's in the doghouse. I expect him to be there again this week. Jameis Winston loves him. Some tight ends, especially Cameron Brate. There's only one person that loves tight ends more than Jameis Winston, and it's me. I love tight ends. Janu Smith at number 13. Delaney Walker has been practicing, but again, not 100% sure he's going to play. If Walker does play, Smith moves down in this lineup. Dallas Goedert at 14. Already talked about him when I talked about Ertz. Jaden Graham at number 15 from the Atlanta Falcons. No Austin Hooper again this week. Jaden Graham doesn't automatically just replace Hooper and his output. However, he still will get a few looks. I've got him just outside the top 12 this week. Gerald Everett at 16. I want to love Gerald Everett a lot more, but he makes it really difficult to do that. Gerald Everett, I hate you for that. I want to love you. I can't do it, though. But here's why. The dude has been all over the map. Super inconsistent. Weeks 5, 7, and 10. The dude has combined for 33 targets, 19 receptions, 254 yards. That's a top 12 tight end right there, people. That's a guy that we play. However, in week 6, 8, and 11, 9 targets, 5 receptions, 44 yards. He is the definition of inconsistency, people, 100%. And now it's week 12, so if history tells us anything, he's going to end up having a huge game. However, Baltimore allows the 4th fewest fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends. Brandon Cooks is back. Not going to roll with Everett this week. TJ Hawkinson, Jason Witten, Noah Fant, Mike Gesicki. Emergency options, people. Emergency options. Witten doesn't have a great matchup. Hawkinson, even when he does have a great matchup, he doesn't do anything. Noah Fant, terrible matchup. Buffalo allowing the fewest points to tight end this season. However, he's been the main target or one of the main targets for Brandon Allen since he took over. Potential upside, but no, not nearly enough there. And Mike Gesicki, the dude, I have no idea what to do with him because he plays really good one week and then he disappears and we play him against a team that he's supposed to have a good week against and he doesn't. So it's a mess this week, people. I told you. Hopefully I broke it down well. Hopefully you got a lot of good information out of this video. I think this is one of the more in-depth rankings videos I've done. Typically we fly through this information and get it out. However, I want you prepared for such a terrible position in week 12. Don't forget, though, live tonight on the Fantasy Headliners, we'll be right here on YouTube answering your start and sit questions, chatting, hanging out, getting you prepared for week 12. Hit that like button for me, people. Leave any comments below for me. As always, I appreciate you, Headliner Nation. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Good luck in week 12.